what we're looking for is how everything works. What makes everything work? It has to do with curiosity. It has to do with people wondering what makes something do something. There's a way of looking anew, as if you never saw it before, for the first time, and asking questions about it as if you were different. And then to discover that if you try to get answers, that they're related to each other. Things that make the wind make the waves. And the motion of water is like the motion of air, is like the motion of sand. Things have common features. Turns out more and more universal. It's almost unbelievable. The truth is so remarkable, so amazing. It's incredible. Take the world from another point of view. It's curiosity. It's the who we are, what we are.
Just like a runner gets a kick out of sweating, I get a kick out of thinking. I can't stop.
It's curiosity.
When I was young, they told me, they said, make your bed, you lie in that bed. A king can only reign till instead there comes that day, it's off with his head.
I think I'm paranoid.
Much less control me. When it rains, it pours. When the floodgates open, brace your shores. That pressure don't care when it breaks your doors. Say it's all you can take, better take some more.
And give me a moment. Your moves are so raw. I've got to let you know you're one of my kind. Playing tricks on me.
how to be alone. It all begins with knowing nothing lasts forever, so you might as well start packing now. In the meantime, practice being alive. There will be a party where you'll feel like nobody's paying you attention. And there will be a party where attention's all you'll get. What you need to do is to remember to talk to yourself between these parties. And again, there will be a day, a decade, where you won't fit in with your body, even though you're in the only body you're in. You need to control your habit of forgetting to breathe. Remember when you were younger and you practiced kissing on your arm? You were onto something then. Sometimes harm knows its own healing. Comfort knows its own intelligence. Kindness too. It needs no reason. There is a you telling you another story of you. Listen to her. Where do you feel anxiety in your body? The chest? The fist? The dream before waking? The head that feels like it's at the top of the swing, or the clutch of gut like falling and falling and falling and falling? It knows something. You're dying. Try to stay alive. For now, touch yourself. I'm serious. Touch yourself. Take your hand and place your hand someplace upon your body and listen to the community of madness that you are. You are such an interesting conversation. You belong here.
Your abilities are determined by how well you can focus. Distractions will limit you. Stop selling yourself short. Today will be the day where external things will not get the better of you. You will choose strength over weakness, courage over cowardice, virtue over vice. No matter what they do to you, they cannot take away your ability to choose how you respond. Without challenges, how would we get better? How could we ever discover the strength of which we are truly capable? If you are fighting through difficulties, it means a hero is being born. The people you encounter may be difficult, but do not let them disrupt your serenity, kindness, and grace. We are much better when we work together.
Your life is your life. Don't let it be clubbed into dank submission. Beyond the watch, there are ways out. There is a light somewhere. It may not be much light, but it beats the darkness. Beyond the watch, the gods will offer you chances. Know them. Take them. You can't beat death, but you can beat death in life, sometimes. And the more often you learn to do it, the more light there will be. Your life is your life. Know it while you have it. You are marvelous. The gods wait to delight in you. If you're going to try, go all the way. Otherwise, don't even start. If you're going to try, go all the way. This could mean losing girlfriends, wives, relatives, jobs, and maybe your mind. Go all the way. It could mean not eating for 3 or 4 days. It could mean freezing on a park bench. It could mean jail. It could mean derision, mockery, isolation. Isolation is the gift. All the others are a test of your endurance, of how much you really want to do it. And you'll do it, despite rejection and the worst odds. And it will be better than anything else you can imagine. If you're going to try, go all the way. There is no other feeling like that. You will be alone with the gods, and the nights will flame with fire. Do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. All the way. All the way. You will ride mine straight to perfect laughter. It's the only good fight there is.
Your little games, don't like your tilted stage. The role you made me play of the fool. No, I don't like you. I don't like your perfect crime. How you laugh when you lie. You said the gun was mine. Isn't cool. No, I don't like you. But I could smarter, I could harder in the nick of time. Honey, I rose up from the dead, I do it all the time. I've got a list of names and yours is in red underlined. I check it once, then I check it twice. Oh, look what you made me do. Look what you made me do. Look what you just made me do. Look what you just made me do. Look what you made me do. Look what you made me do. Look what you just made me do. Look what you just made me do. I don't like your kingdom keys. They once belonged to me. You asked me for a place to sleep, locked me out and threw a feast. The war moves on another day, another drama. But not for me, not for me. All I think about is karma. And then the world moves on, but one thing's for sure. Baby, I got mine, but you'll all get yours. But I get smarter, I got harder in the nick of time. Honey, I rose up from the dead, I do it all the time. I've got a list of names and yours is in red underlined. I check it once, then I check it twice. Look what you made me do. Look what you made me do. Look what you just made me do. Look what you just made me do. Look what you made me do. Look what you made me do. Look what you just made me do. Look what you just made me do. Oh, look what you made. I don't trust nobody and nobody trusts me. I'll be the actress starring in your bad dreams. I don't trust nobody and nobody trusts me. I'll be the actress starring in your bad dreams. I don't trust nobody and nobody trusts me. I'll be the actress starring in your bad dreams. Look what you made me do. Look what you made me do. Look what you just made me do. Look what you just made me do. Look what you made me do. Look what you made me do. Look what you just made me do. Look what you just made me do.
You and your friend need to ace Friday's exam to avoid summer classes. And after a week of studying, you both feel confident that you pulled it off. But when you get your grades back, they're much lower than the two of you expected. You're devastated. However, your friend doesn't seem too bothered, and it's making you wonder why you can't shake this off like they can. But should you really be trying to look on the bright side? And is controlling our emotions even possible in the first place? The answer to the last question is a definitive yes. There are numerous strategies for regulating our emotions, and one framework to understand these techniques is called the process model. Psychologists use this tool to identify where and how to intervene in the process that forms our emotions. That process has 4 steps. First, we enter a situation, real or imagined, and that draws our attention. Then we evaluate or appraise the situation and whether it helps or hinders our goals. Finally, this appraisal leads to a set of changes in how we feel, think, and behave, known as an emotional response. Each step of this process offers an opportunity to consciously intervene and change our emotions, and the process model outlines what strategies we might try at each phase. To see this in action, let's imagine you've been invited to the same party as your least favorite ex and their new partner. Your first strategy could be avoiding the situation altogether by skipping the party. But if you do attend, you could also try modifying the situation by choosing not to interact with your ex. If that's proving difficult, you might want to shift your attention, maybe by playing a game with your friends rather than focusing on your ex's new partner. Another option would be to reevaluate how you think about the situation. After seriously reappraising things, you might realize that you don't care who your ex dates. If none of these strategies work, you can always try tempering your emotional response after the fact. But this can be tricky. Many of the easiest ways to do this, like hiding your emotions or trying to change them with recreational drugs, generally lead to more negative feelings and health concerns in the long term. More sustainable strategies here include going for a long walk, taking slow, deep breaths, or talking with someone in your support system. While using all these strategies well takes practice, learning to notice your emotions and reflect on where they're coming from is half the battle. And once you've truly internalized that you can regulate your emotions, doing so becomes much easier. But should you use these techniques to constantly maintain a good mood? That answer depends on how you define what makes a mood good. It's tempting to think we should always try to avoid sadness and frustration, but no emotion is inherently good or bad. They're either helpful or unhelpful, depending on the situation. For example, if a friend is telling you about the loss of a loved one, feeling and expressing sadness isn't just appropriate, it can help you empathize and support them. Conversely, while it's unhealthy to regularly ignore your emotions, forcing a smile to get through a one-time annoyance is perfectly reasonable. We hear a lot of mixed messages about emotions. Some pressure us to stay upbeat, while others tell us to simply take our emotions as they come. But in reality, each person has to find their own balance. So, if the question is, should you always try to be happy? The answer is no. Studies suggest that people fixated on happiness often experience secondary negative emotions like guilt or frustration over being upset and disappointment that they don't feel happier. This doesn't mean you should let sadness or anger take over, but strategies like reappraisal can help you reevaluate your thoughts about a situation, allowing you to accept that you feel sad and cultivate hope that things will get better.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how well do you think you know yourself? Most people rank themselves at about an 8 out of 10. This estimate is way off. It is virtually impossible to know yourself this well. We are not who we think we are, and we know far less about ourselves than we think we do because we have very limited access to the inner workings of our minds, and our lack of self-control is a clear indicator of this fact. Whether studying, exercise, meditation, it is very difficult for us to do the things that we know we should be doing. This is because our behavior resembles a power struggle between invisible forces with conflicting interests. It's like we're stuck in our heads with someone else, an inner roommate. This is no surprise. In fact, researchers at Caltech have shown that the left and right hemisphere of the brain can be independently conscious in the famous split brain experiments. In other words, different parts of our brain are often in conflict with each other in ways that we are not aware of. There is often a dual nature to the human mind, Carl Jung, one of the most influential psychiatrists to ever live, describes the shadow, the unknown dark side of the personality. It's everything that we refuse to acknowledge about ourselves, a set of undesirable personality traits that we unconsciously suppress. Some of these traits include laziness, envy, and the longing for power and prestige. Things that we're quick to see in others, but not in ourselves. The more we suppress the shadow, the stronger it becomes. And if you think you don't have a shadow, this is because your mind is fooling you. Have you ever pointed out the flaws in others but failed to do so in yourself? Ever internally rejoiced in the downfall of a coworker so you feel superior? We all do this, and it's completely natural. Even the best of us can't escape from the shadow. So what do we do about this? Instead of suppressing our darkest side, we must confront the shadow and integrate it into our lives. And to integrate the shadow is to acknowledge our flaws by 1, clearly recognizing the internal conflicts we face without completely identifying with them, and 2, channeling these deep negative emotions like bitterness and envy into a drive that is positive in nature. I'll give you an example. As a child, Elon Musk was bullied so severely that he once had to be hospitalized and eventually had to undergo surgery to repair his nose. Despite these experiences, he channeled this isolation and sourness into a relentless drive that has now led to companies like SpaceX and Tesla.
All this negative shit that was making me weak and horrible as a person, I had to use this as the power that now fueled me. I had to flip it on its head and say, hold up, this might be exactly what I need. The darkness is exactly what I need.
Shadow side, let's return to the larger topic at hand, understanding our behavior. Consciousness is a topic most people don't think enough about, and is much more important, complex, and interesting than it appears. There's perhaps no better way to realize this than contemplating its origin. So our brains are composed of about 100 billion neurons. Neurons, most assume, are not individually conscious, but when connected, these neurons suddenly produce a subjective experience in a continuum of thoughts, sensations, and memory. Let's take a moment to appreciate this conundrum. You see, matter can be reduced to atoms, light can be reduced to photons, but consciousness doesn't seem to be reducible. It seems to emerge from nothing. Or does it? The idea of panpsychism argues that consciousness, like matter, is indeed reducible. It argues that every material, however small, has an intrinsic element of consciousness. Emergence, on the other hand, states that consciousness simply emerges from non-conscious matter, arranged in a particular configuration. This is reminiscent to how the Big Bang gave birth to matter, space, and time from the initial singularity. Which of these theories is correct? We have no idea. An understanding of consciousness enables better self-control, more empathy for others, and a greater peace of mind. Let's start with self-control. The reason we can't control ourselves is because the I that we identify with is only half of who we really are. Daniel Kahneman, Nobel Prize-winning psychologist, describes the 2 systems of thought in his seminal book, Thinking, Fast and Slow. System 1 being fast, instinctive, and emotional thinking, while System 2 is slower, more deliberate, and logical. The issue is that we only identify with the conscious System 2, although the unconscious System 1 is how we really make most of our decisions. You see, we think our consciousness has much more power than it actually does, and we are blind to the forces that influence our behaviors, desires, and personality traits. Understanding consciousness allows us to avoid this pitfall. Also, since we know others are going through the same mental battle, our empathy for those around us increases with a better understanding of consciousness. And lastly, this knowledge allows for a greater peace of mind. You see, consciousness is the space in which sensations and thoughts come and go, and most bad emotions arise from the identification with negative thoughts.
You realize that most of the bad behavior of other people really comes down to fear and anxiety, rather than, as it's generally easier to presume, nastiness or idiocy. You loosen your hold on self-righteousness and stop thinking of the world as populated by either monsters or fools. It makes things less black and white at first, but in time, a great deal more interesting. You learn that what's in your head can't automatically be understood by other people. You realize that, unfortunately, you're going to have to articulate your intentions and feelings with the use of words. and can't fairly blame other people for not getting what you mean until you've spoken calmly and clearly. You learn that, remarkably, you do sometimes get things wrong. With huge courage, you take your first faltering steps towards, once in a while, apologizing. You learn to be confident, not by realizing that you're great, but by learning that everyone else is just as stupid, scared, and lost as you are. We're all making it up as we go along, and that's fine. You forgive your parents because you realize that they didn't put you on this earth in order to insult you. They were just painfully out of their depth and struggling with demons of their own. Anger turns, at points, to pity and compassion. You learn the enormous influence of so-called small things on mood: bedtimes, blood sugar and alcohol levels, degrees of background stress, and so on. And as a result, you learn never to bring up an important, contentious issue with a loved one until everyone is well rested, no one is drunk, you've had some food, nothing else is alarming you, and you're not rushing to catch a train. You give up sulking. If someone hurts you, you don't store up the hatred and the hurt for days. You remember we'll all be dead soon. You don't expect others to know what's wrong. You tell them straight, and if they get it, you forgive them. And if they don't, in a different way, you forgive them too. You cease to believe in perfection in pretty much every area. There aren't any perfect people, perfect jobs, or perfect lives. Instead, you pivot towards an appreciation of what is, to use the psychoanalyst Donald Winnicott's exemplary phrase, good enough. You realize that many things in your life are at once quite frustrating and yet, in many ways, eminently good enough. You learn the virtues of being a little more pessimistic about how things will turn out, and as a result, emerge as a calmer, more patient, and more forgiving soul. You lose some of your idealism and become a far less maddening person. You learn to see that everyone's weaknesses of character are linked to counterbalancing strengths. Rather than isolating their weaknesses, you look at the whole picture. Yes, someone is rather pedantic, but they're also beautifully precise and a rock at times of turmoil. Yes, someone is a bit messy, but at the same time brilliantly creative and very visionary. You realize, truly realize, that perfect people don't exist, and that every strength will be tagged to a weakness. You fall in love a bit less easily. It's difficult, in a way. When you were less mature, you could develop a crush in an instant. Now, you're poignantly aware that everyone, however externally charming or accomplished, would be a bit of a pain from close up. You develop loyalty to what you already have. You learn that you are, rather surprisingly, quite a difficult person to live with. You shared some of your earlier sentimentality towards yourself. You go into friendships and relationships offering others kindly warnings of how and when you might prove a challenge. You learn to forgive yourself for your errors and foolishness. You realize the unfruitful self-absorption involved in simply flogging yourself for past mistakes. You become more of a friend to yourself. Of course you're an idiot, but you're still a lovable one, as we all are. You learn that part of what maturity involves is making peace with the stubbornly childlike bits of you that will always remain. You cease trying to be a grown-up at every occasion. You accept that we all have our regressive moments, and when the inner 2-year-old you raises its head, you greet them generously and give them the attention they need. You cease to put too much hope in grand plans for the kind of happiness you expect could last for years. You start to celebrate the little things that go well. You realize that satisfaction comes in increments of minutes. You're delighted if one day passes by without too much bother. You take a greater interest in flowers and in the evening sky. You develop a taste for small pleasures. What people in general think of you ceases to be such a concern. You realize that the minds of others are muddled places, and you don't try so hard to polish your image in everyone else's eyes. What counts is that you and one or two others are okay, with you being you. You give up on fame and start to rely on love. You get better at hearing feedback. Rather than assuming that anyone who criticizes you is either trying to humiliate you or is making a mistake, you accept that maybe it would be an idea to take a few things on board. You start to see that you can listen to a criticism and survive it without having to put on your armor and deny that there was ever a problem. You realize the extent to which you tend to live day by day in too great a proximity to certain of your problems and issues. You remember more and more that you need to get out and get a perspective on the things that pain you. You take more walks in nature. You might get a pet. They don't fret like we do. And you appreciate the distant galaxies above us in the night sky. You recognize how your distinctive past colors your response to events and learn to compensate for the distortions that can result. You accept that because of how your childhood went, you have a predisposition to exaggerate in certain areas. You become suspicious of your own first impulses around particular topics. You realize sometimes not to go with your first feelings. When you start a friendship, you realize that other people don't principally want to know your good news, so much as gain an insight into what troubles and worries you, so that they can, in turn, feel less lonely with the pains of their own hearts. You become a better friend because you see that what friendship is really about is a sharing of vulnerability.
And I did what any girl would do. I did it all over again.
Make love to the stock. I'm a soldier to my own emptiness. I'm a winner. I'm gonna marry the night. I'm gonna marry the night. I'm gonna marry the night. I'm gonna marry the night.
I got it, sleeping rough on the streets in the rain. I got it, learning to share my people's pain. I got it, making flowers grow in hearts of stone. I got it, 'cause I always took the long way home.
Then I'll go down to the bar, but I won't cry anymore. I'll hold my whiskey up high, kiss the bartender twice. I'm a loser. I'm gonna marry the night. Gonna marry the night. Gonna marry the night.
streets in the rain. I got it, learning to share my people's pain. I got it, making flowers grow in hearts of stone. I got it, cause I always took the long.
In the noise of our modern world, we are seldom alone. Our minds are constantly bombarded with information, thoughts, distractions. But what if being alone, truly alone, could be the path to changing your life? Miyamoto Musashi, the legendary samurai, believed so. He spent most of his life in solitude, honing his craft and developing his philosophy. In his final work, Dokudo, or The Path of Walking Alone, Musashi left us 21 precepts that guide a person towards a fulfilling life, a life enriched by the power of solitude. Join us as we delve into Musashi's philosophy of solitude and discover how being alone can indeed change your life. Before we dive into the profound thoughts he left behind, let's first delve into who Miyamoto Musashi was. A revered figure, a ronin, a roving samurai without a lord, Musashi was born in 1584 in a Japan torn apart by civil wars. His prowess with the sword was unparalleled, but it was his profound wisdom that continues to inspire us centuries later. He was an artist, a philosopher, and most famously, a swordsman who won over 60 duels, many of them to the death. But his journey was far from a trail of endless violence. It was a path that led to deep introspection and wisdom. Musashi's life was marked by a relentless pursuit of mastery over self, through discipline, dedication, and crucially, solitude. Musashi's solitude wasn't about a monk-like existence away from society. It was about mental solitude, a self-imposed state of mind where the chatter of the external world was muted. He advocated introspection and a clear mind free from distractions as the path to self-improvement. This understanding was encapsulated in his Dokudo, which translates to the path of walking alone. Through these precepts, he provided guidance on how to live without fear, regret, or distraction, and the importance of being true to oneself. Let's now delve into these teachings and unravel how embracing solitude can significantly alter our lives. The importance of solitude. Musashi's philosophy emphasized solitude, not as a means to isolation, but as a path to self-discovery and self-improvement. He believed that solitude allowed him to sharpen his mind and body without distraction, honing his skills and understanding himself at a deeper level. In the silence and peace of solitude, he found clarity, freed from the influence and judgment of others. It was an opportunity for him to learn, grow, and come to terms with his own strengths and weaknesses, without the external noise that often clouds our judgment and self-perception. Musashi wrote, "Think lightly of yourself and deeply of the world." He urged people to turn their focus outward, to observe, learn, and understand the world around them, while maintaining a humble sense of self. It's about removing ego and opening oneself to the vast knowledge the world has to offer. This humble self-awareness, coupled with a profound understanding of the world, forges a formidable path towards self-improvement and personal growth. But how can we apply these ancient teachings to our modern lives? Let's delve into practical ways to walk our own path of solitude, guided by Musashi's wisdom. The lessons Musashi gleaned from solitude are not just applicable to the life of a samurai, but can be carried into our lives today, centuries later. He formulated these insights into the Dokudo, also known as the Path of Aloneness, or the Way to Go Forth Alone, a short work written a week before his death. One of the lessons Musashi teaches us is the value of self-reliance. He states in the Dokudo, "Do not seek pleasure for its own sake." This is a reminder that fleeting happiness derived from external validation or material possessions does not lead to long-lasting fulfillment. Instead, Musashi urges us to find satisfaction within ourselves, in our actions, and in our personal growth. Another key point in the Dokudo is the principle of do not, under any circumstances, depend on a partial feeling. This urges us to not act impulsively based on transient emotions, but to carefully contemplate our actions and their consequences. Our decisions should be thoughtfully made, fully conscious, and independent of fleeting feelings or external influences. Furthermore, Musashi highlights the importance of being unattached to physical and temporal things. In the Dokudo, he advises, do not hold on to possessions you no longer need. This counsel to let go of unnecessary attachments isn't just about material possessions. It also extends to relationships, habits, and thoughts that no longer serve us. It's a lesson in decluttering our lives, physically and mentally, creating more room for growth and transformation. In another precept, he states, "Do not fear death." This is not a call to be reckless, but an encouragement to live fully and fearlessly, with the understanding that death is a part of life. It's a prompt to live each day as if it were your last, cherishing every moment and taking opportunities as they come. And lastly, he urges us to be detached from desire your whole life long. This teaches us to free ourselves from the constant yearning for more that often leads to dissatisfaction and unhappiness. It's about learning to be content with what we have while still striving for self-improvement. These are just a few of the principles Musashi left us in his Dokudo. They provide us with a roadmap for navigating life, highlighting the value of introspection, self-reliance, thoughtful decision-making, and detachment from the superfluous. Today's world is vastly different from Musashi's time. We're constantly connected, with technology tying us together more closely than ever before. But while these connections can bring us closer, they can also prevent us from truly being alone, from experiencing solitude in its fullness. Yet, as Musashi emphasized, solitude holds immense value for personal growth and self-understanding. So how can we implement Musashi's lessons on solitude in our interconnected world? Firstly, we can practice solitude by regularly taking time away from the hustle and bustle of daily life. This could be through daily periods of silence and solitude, be it through meditation, walks in nature, or simply sitting quietly in a room. During these times, allow yourself to think, reflect, and just be. Secondly, consider practicing digital detoxing. Setting aside designated times each day to disconnect from our devices can provide us with much-needed space for self-reflection and inner peace. It's a way of asserting our independence from the constant demands for our attention and creating space for solitude. Thirdly, solitude is about more than physical aloneness. It's also about mental and emotional aloneness. This means learning to detach ourselves from the need for approval, the urge to compare ourselves to others, and the desire to conform. It's about learning to stand firm in our beliefs and decisions even if they go against the crowd. Lastly, make solitude a priority. Treat it as an essential part of your self-care routine, something non-negotiable. See it not as a luxury but as a necessity for personal growth and self-understanding. The world may be different from Musashi's time, but the lessons he learned in solitude are timeless. By incorporating these principles into our lives, we can learn to not just be alone, but to thrive in aloneness, finding peace and fulfillment within ourselves. Addressing the challenges. Embracing solitude isn't always easy. It often goes against our instincts for connection and social interaction. We can even fear solitude, associating it with loneliness, isolation, or rejection. And in our connected world, choosing solitude can feel counterintuitive, even counterproductive. Firstly, it's essential to differentiate between solitude and loneliness. Loneliness is a state of emotional distress, a sense of being socially isolated or cut off. It's an unwanted state, a feeling of disconnection. Solitude, on the other hand, is being alone without feeling lonely. It's a positive and constructive state of engagement with oneself. Secondly, realize that solitude isn't an all-or-nothing concept. You don't have to retreat into a cave or live as a hermit to experience solitude. Instead, it's about finding balance. It's about incorporating periods of quiet, introspective alone time into your daily life. Thirdly, remember that solitude requires intentionality. It's a conscious choice, a deliberate act. It's about making time for yourself, for your thoughts and reflections. Lastly, embrace the discomfort that can come with solitude. This discomfort can be a sign of growth, a sign that you're challenging yourself, pushing your boundaries, and stepping out of your comfort zone. Musashi understood the challenges of embracing solitude, yet he also recognized its benefits. Through his life and his teachings, he gives us a blueprint for overcoming these challenges and harnessing the transformative power of solitude. The journey through the life and teachings of Miyamoto Musashi is a powerful reminder of the significance of solitude in personal growth and self-realization. The path to self-mastery often requires walking alone. The journey may not be easy, but it is undoubtedly rewarding.
I think that particular question had come across your mind one time or another. I'd say the answer to that is, we're trying to be the best human being that we can be through effectively managing our feral animalistic impulses the best we can. If we could intricately dissect the root cause of all of our misdemeanors and misbehaviors that we've done in life, it always originates from our occasional underestimation, inability, and ignorance of our primal animalistic instincts that we have carried with from our inception all the way through our entire evolution as human beings. All of the bad choices and decisions that we've made are all carried out because we are overwhelmed by our innate primal instincts, whether slightly or significantly. For example, our brains have evolved so far to analyze and interpret our own emotions, yet we still get overwhelmed by both the dazzling potency and sudden ferocity of our emotions from time to time, which caused us to make decisions purely on instinctual reaction and not calculated or controlled response. The same dynamic also applies when we are overwhelmed with lust, greed, jealousy, resentment, hatred, fear, violence, etc. A lot of us are still trying to deny that we are entirely different or separate from animals who make decisions and react purely on instinct for survival. That we are this innocent and civilized entity by design, but we're not. We are just the more sophisticated version of them, and we are still very much vulnerable to our primitive and undomesticated tendencies that we very much share closely with them. It's just that the unhinged form of our primal survival instincts that we share with them are, most of the time, not optimal or unrequired for the objective functioning of civilization. But that doesn't mean that they have absolutely no influence over us, because if we take a very close look, we'll realize they always do. Now, from that perspective, we can pretty much understand why we occasionally do things that aren't objectively focused or pro-socially accustomed. But the main problem here is, as we all know in this heavily manipulated digital age that particularly emphasizes perfectionism and idealism to delusionally fantastical heights in order to grab attention, making mistakes or showcasing flaws are something that is considered as existentially unwanted and almost otherworldly unusual in a way that it signifies or indicates those who demonstrate them as this sort of freak of nature, if you would. There is just this very sensitively intolerable level of disgust and disregard from society to those who make mistakes or showcase unwanted behaviors, even minor ones, almost to the point of consideration of a strange and different species existing alongside them, thinking that they themselves aren't capable, or worse, aren't designed to also demonstrate those behaviors that they despised. This is why so many of us have such an astronomical level of unrealistic expectations towards other people, and only until we are brought into full awareness of our own flaws and mistakes that identically represent those behaviors that we despise, do we try to desperately justify our bad behaviors. We all make mistakes. That's what makes us human. We grow and evolve through making mistakes and finding possible solutions to correct them, manage them, or mitigate their effects so that we become better equipped with more capabilities, experience, and wisdom. Making mistakes is absolutely not an indication of your permanent incompetence or unwanted existence. It's just you being a part of this game called life, mate. Our lives consist of making mistakes. Some mistakes we encounter once, and others we encounter multiple times. Some mistakes are redeemable, and some are not. Some mistakes are acceptable and tolerable for some people, and other mistakes are not. If anybody tells you that we should not make mistakes, or we should never make mistakes, then that person is an absolute twat who jerks off to AI models, desperately insisting that they're real. We all exist to make mistakes and continuously learn from their consequences and navigate ourselves around them. Plain and simple. If you make absolutely no mistakes in your life, then that is when I'll start to consider that you might be either an extraterrestrial being delivered by the Most High, or you're just an extremely boring person to be with. Never be discouraged through making mistakes. It simply showcases that you're evolving and you're no worse than anyone else in this world. But you're certainly way better off than those who dreadfully avoid making mistakes through doing nothing and then judging people that make mistakes, just like a little bitch.
Now it's time to free me from the chair. peace? Is it too late, or could this love protect me from the pain? I would battle for you, even if I break into freak out, freak out, freak out, freak out. Oh, freak out. Get down and get down and get down and get down. Get down tonight. Freak out, freak out, freak out, freak out. Look at me now, 'cause all I ever wanted was love. All I ever wanted was I want just to be loved, love. I want just to be loved, love.
25 years now, my life is still trying to get up that great big hill of hope for a destination. Into a crisis of times when I'm lying in bed just to get it all out what's in my head. And I am feeling a little peculiar. And so I wake in the morning and I step outside and I take a deep breath and I get real high and I scream from the top of my lungs, what's going on? And I say, hey, yeah, yeah, hey, yeah. I said, hey, what's going on? I want just to be loved. And I said, hey, yeah, yeah, I said, hey, what's going on? I want just to be loved, love. 'Cause you're hot, then you're cold, you're yes, then you're no, you're in, then you're out, you're up, then you're down, you're wrong when it's right, it's black and it's white. We fight, we break up, we kiss, we make up. No matter how hard I try, you keep pushing me aside and I can't break through. There's no talking to you. It's so sad that you're leaving. It takes time to believe it. But after all is said and done, you're gonna be the lonely one. Oh, do you believe in life after love? I want just to be loved, love. I can feel something inside to say I really don't think it's strong enough now. Do you believe in life after love? I want just to be loved, love. I can feel something inside to say I really don't think it's strong enough. Hey, yeah, yeah. I said, hey, I want just to be loved. What's going on?
Feel how your breathing makes more space around you. Let this darkness be a bell tower, and you the bell. And as you ring, what batters you becomes your strength. Move back and forth into the change. What's it like, this intensity of pain? If the drink is bitter, turn yourself to wine. In this uncontainable night, be the mystery at the crossroads of your senses, the meaning discovered there. And if the world shall cease to hear you, say to the silent earth, I flow. And to the rushing water speak, I